So this is where I got yesterday. I went out and got some sausage for dinner, so I didn't have a whole mess of time. I took the seats off, the tank off, and the airbox. So the airbox on this bike's a little convoluted. Now, I don't really do any research on these bikes before I buy them. I buy them because they're cheap, and that's why. So the airbox, you know, obviously these are the carbs. Those are the openings for it. There's an airbox that goes here, goes down into there, and then the filter is right on here in the side cover. It was a little odd. So because I'm going to make it a hardtail and make a basically cut from, I guess here would be a good place to cut, and then basically get a tube going all the way down to where the shock mounts right there. I'm going to be cutting off a bit of an angle onto the existing triangle here, so all this stuff that lives in here, the airbox, these controls, this auxiliary fuel tank, which I didn't even know this, well, it's not auxiliary, it's like the, what do you call it, the reserve tank, that's going to get relocated, and then everything on the other side. So all this stuff needs to come out. So yeah, I'm going to cut into that. And yeah, so a lot of this stuff has to go, and because I'm taking off the airbox, I'm just going to throw some uni filters up here, and you know, I'm still gonna rejet the carbs, so you know, it doesn't matter. Yeah, so what's up for today? I got my spark plugs in, I got my my tool that's able to go in there and take the plugs out, because I need a thin wall tube to get in there. And basically all I want to do is just see if I'm getting spark on all the plugs, and then maybe throw some starting fluid in here and see if I can get it to burp. And that's about it. I'm gonna take the airbox off and basically get this midsection as cleared out as possible, so that this weekend I can go and pretty much make it a hardtail. And I'd like to be able to, I think I can just run I should be able to just run a straight tube down, but I might have to curve it a little bit. And this joint right here, I'm going to reinforce as much as I can. I'll probably just make a bracket, a little gusset right there to strengthen that up. And then a gusset down here at the shock, where the shock is. Make a little triangle there to strengthen it up as well. And we should be good, because I'm still going to keep this bar right here. This is still going to exist, and I'm just going to cut it and weld it onto the frame tube I'm going to put in there. So it should be strong enough, and have a nice downward angle, so that when I get my seat in the mail, it's, you know, it's a nice, it'll look good, trust me. And then I'm going to try and repurpose the rear fender. I'm going to try and keep it, but it's all sorts of weird. It's not flat, you know, it's got all these things that mount to it. There's the CDI boxes and all that stuff. I'm going to try and keep it, try and reuse it if possible. And also, I'm missing the key for the gas tank. Hopefully the new owner, or the previous owner, I'm the new owner, the previous owner can supply me with the key for that, because the key that's in the ignition doesn't fit. So we'll see. Alright, back to work. Alright, so I confirmed I got spark on all four. I changed out the spark plugs because they were old. I got it. Got some starter fluid. See if we can't get it to start on starting fluid. At least get it to burp or bark, or what have you. Starting to run out a little bit. These downdraft carbs don't make it super easy to, you know, put stuff in. Alright, little update. Stripped the bike down, took the tank off, took the seats off, and basically from here I have to take off the rear wheel so that I can take out this airbox and this auxiliary, or secondary, I guess, fuel tank. It's kind of a weird setup because fuel tank's up here and it has lines coming down into here in the secondary tank, and then the fuel pump at the bottom sends it back up to the carbs, and it comes out in this little split line here. So it's kind of odd that Honda chose to do it that way. I mean, you would think a gravity fed would be a little bit of an easier, simpler solution, but whatever. They probably know more than I do. So yeah, take this off, take these guys out, and then tomorrow I'm going to start cutting all this stuff apart to get the hardtail, which I found this piece of steel in the scrapyard. It's about 1 inch and then about a little over 1/8 of an inch inner wall, so it's going to be plenty strong, and I'll be able to make the hardtail out of that. And then I picked up this little guy, which is some sort of probably a concrete drill or something. I'm just going to cut that drill bit off of it, and I'm going to shape the sissy bar and the rear fender mount from that. And I have, here's the rear fender for the Shadow. It's a bit of an oddball because, like, I think this will work, but I have to figure out what I'm going to do about this indent here. Might fill it, might let it ride, don't know. But after I get the airbox out and the secondary tank out, I'll have all sorts of room to hide all this wiring and shit. So, time to get the rear wheel off. Oh, and I forgot to mention, the bike isn't running yet. I have the carbs off and cleaning them, and it's actually spotless. Like, the carbs are in really good shape. But for, you know, whatever reason, I got spark. There's fuel getting put into the engine, but it's not firing over, and I think it's probably because of old gas, because spill a bit and you can, like, just smell it. It's pretty stale. So once I have everything set up and I put it all back in there and I can try to fire it again, I'm going to throw some good gas in there and hopefully that'll fix it. Exhaust is off. I hate that thing. Alright, time to chop. So here's the deal. I got the rear swing arm supported by a jack. Wow, this light is really bad. Hang on, am I zoomed in or something? There we go. Rear swing arm supported by a jack. And what I did is I measured shock mount to shock mount before I took the shocks off, and it was 13 inches. This now measures 11. So that's a 2-inch drop in the rear. Pretty conservative. I don't really want to go much more than that because I can't rake the neck. But I will drop it maybe 1 inch through the tubes, and I don't really like the look of dropped, you know, fork tubes through the triples. So I'd like to rake it, or if I have time, I'll actually go in and lower the shocks in the, you know, inside of it, actually cut the springs and make spacers. But if I don't have the time, I'll just push them through the forks. So 2 inches in the rear, and basically I'm gonna cut everything from here, boom, to there. So everything above that is going away. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and cut this bit off here and use this bracket, and use this little hole here, make it a little bigger, and try and use that for the for this mount right here. I think the tubing that I got might fit in here, so it'll be, you know, like almost slugging it. But if I can't, I have another option for that tubing. But, and then for this, I'm just going to cut this mount off so that it's nice and, you know, flat, so I can weld. I have to weld to this directly. Yeah. So it's time to cut. Oh, and I'm also going to try and ditch the reserve tank. I have some plans for that. Alright, so game plan. What I've done is I've taken the entire, as you can see, the whole friggin' back of the bike off. And what I'm going to do is, here's just a piece of the iron, or the steel. I got a purposefully pretty thick inner wall here. That's a 1/2 inch inner wall versus the inner wall on the bike, which is an 1/8. So much thicker, but also a little bit harder to work with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically use this pipe as a slug, because it damn near is, because it's so goddamn thick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole into here, into the top here, and I'm going to ream it out a little bit so I can stick this right in there and basically use it as a slug. And then from there I can, from there it'll be pretty strong, and I'll weld in a gusset. I'll gusset right here, a little triangle, to give it a little bit more reinforcement, and maybe sleeve it on the top too, but that's gonna get it pretty goddamn strong. And also the fact that I'm using a much higher gauge pipe is gonna make the hardtail pretty strong. Another thing I have to do is, once I have this in place, I need to move these tubes right here, which I'm not gonna get rid of. I'm gonna, weld to them to, keep it pretty strong. I need to heat these up and bend them in a little bit, because it's off-centered a little bit, if you can see. See that little hole right there? It's a little off-center. I want to have this sit right in the middle, like that, so that I can cup it and, have it sit in there nice and strong and easy to weld to as well. I don't want anything sitting on top of anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run to Home Depot, return the Sawzall, and then get a few reaming bits for my Dremel tool, drill a hole in here, and start reaming it out until it's just thick enough for me to slide the hardtail into, and then weld around it, gusset, shape that out, put an end on this one so that I can keep the existing shock mount there and just weld it to the, just use a bolt to hold that in place. And then, for this one, same thing, except I'm literally welding it to the swing arm. So I'm gonna have to make a slash cut on the other one that I'm gonna use and weld that into place, and of course gusset that one. That one I'm probably gonna leave ungusseted, just because it honestly won't need it, because the sleeve that I'm using actually fits right over this pipe, because it's the same diameter as this pipe here, and if you look, fits right in there. So just weld that up, and it'll be strong as shit. Alright, so for today I'll be happy when I get all my stuff lined up and shortened and put in the right length, and then I can weld tomorrow. I think it's pretty much going to take me the rest of the day to make sure that everything is to length, and I think I might actually, if I have some spare time, make the gussets for this connection. So what I'm doing is I drill a little pilot hole, and what I'm going to do is, and I measured this so it's in the center, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep drilling this hole out a little bit bigger until I'm going to ream it to get to the size of the hardtail tube and stick it in there. And hopefully we'll see if it works well. I think it should. It probably should. Or did I go a little bit too? Let's see. For aesthetics. Let's see. So I have it that it's going to go in like there, and that actually lines up, like if you can imagine it getting pushed in, actually lines up pretty good with the down tube. It might be a little bit weird looking actually if I had it like there. Instead, it would actually line in with the down tube pretty perfectly. So I might raise it a little bit. I think that might be good. Yeah, I'll do that. Just for aesthetics. It'll look better. It won't look weird. I'll follow the natural curve of the frame. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing today. Okay, here's where I stand after a few minutes or hours of work. Left side is gonna go right in there. It's sleeved in like okay, like I'm not super happy with the cut, but I'm gonna sleeve it anyways, and then also brace it at the bottom there. So all things considered, it should be fine, but the line into this down tube from the original tube here looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with just that. I'll work around the rest. Yeah, sleeve plus bracing should be good. This one on the other side, same sort of thing, you know, fits in like that. Ow, damn it! Just fucking goddamn. Yeah, it looks like shit now, but trust me, it'll look better, and it'll be safe, Mom and Dad. So the other side of this, I'm gonna weld it directly onto the swing arm here, and basically it's gonna look like that. But what I'm gonna do is, I've already made a note, I'm gonna do a slash cut up until about here, so that pretty much the entire, like, the amount of welding I'll be doing on the swing arm is probably like 3 inches. So that's pretty good. And then also I'll have the ability to weld a bracket onto this side. Can't weld a bracket onto this side because then I'd be welding directly into the housing of the drive shaft, the rear. You can't call this a differential, whatever it is, driving gear. On this end, I'm going to. This is from the bike actually. It's a bracket. It's the end of the seat bracket. I'm just going to elongate that hole so that it fits over here, and then this hole's a little oblong. I'm going to get that opened up and put it right over the top of this and weld it in place, and hopefully get in here about 1 inch so that it'll be nice and strong. So basically this pipe is the slug, and hopefully that'll work. This one I'm gonna have to be real careful about welding because, you know, to be honest with you, if something's gonna break, it'll probably be this joint right here. So gotta make extra sure that one's good. Sleeve it, do all that stuff. So that's about all I wanted to do today. I'm gonna take this over to the bench and work on that slash cut. You can see already sort of penciled in there. And then tomorrow I'm gonna go rent a good welder because my Harbor Freight guy over there I don't think is gonna be. I need something with pretty high heat to be able to get through this this steel. It's pretty thick. I think the Harbor Freight one is only rated at about 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch, and this is a little over 1/4 inch. I know in the last video I said 1/2 inch, but that's not correct. This is somewhere, whatever. in the middle of a quarter and a half is in Imperial. I have no idea. But I need something that'll, you know, have the ability to penetrate through all this. And I can rent a Lincoln flux core welder from Home Depot for like 30 bucks a day, and it has a 1/2 inch maximum penetration. So this will be fine. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm slightly, you know, I always get to this point when I make hardtails and whenever I chop bikes, I always get to this point where I'm like, but I'm glad I'm like that because it makes me go and do more work than I should and like brace 50 times when I should only do it like once. Yeah, better safe than sorry, because I'm gonna be riding this. No one else is. And also I have definitely come to the conclusion that once I weld this together, there'll be no way to service this. Because as much as I might be able to get a little bit of play to move this off, but I highly, highly doubt it. I mean, if I have play, then that means that I think that I did something wrong in the welding. So I might just weld that end piece. I might just weld it right on there and just say screw it, you know. But I probably don't. But yeah, this will never be able to be taken out again. But it's a Dirtbag bike. I'm gonna build it, ride it for a little bit, and then sell it because I'm only gonna be like 600 bucks in. Even if I sell it for $1,000, I make a profit.